Okay, lads. I don't know what part of the season 2 that music was from. Like the title is like a son for a son, but I don't remember that in episode 1. Maybe it's because I haven't watched episode 1 of season 2 in a while. But that was a soundtrack. I kind of just picked a random one cuz Spotify now finally has the season 2 like soundtrack up for House of the Dragon. I just picked a random one. I was like, well, just going to let it go. But that was an interesting one. But yeah. Also, Radical. I don't know if you just like did your membership or you upgraded your membership, whatever you did. Appreciate your support, Radical. Hi, Matthew. Hi, Chrissy. I'll get to your comment here in a second, Matthew, about Twitter. Twitter's a bad place. Hi, Ghost. Hi, Blake. Hi, Haley. And I'll get to your questions as well. Hi, Random Stuff. And hi, PK. How are you guys? And it's been a busy day, you know. Went to the dentist today, and I got a lot of work done in terms of internship, and then also doing some video stuff. I got I'd say I got the easy stuff done. I kind of saved, so for members, they already know this, but I have about 3 of the videos up right now. I have like 2 smaller videos. Even then, I wouldn't even call them smaller because I have an Allison video going up that's about 20-something minutes long. And then I had another, I don't even remember what the other video is. I know the one, I have a divided video or something, like is the fan base divided? That was for members, but yeah. No, I didn't have an internship at the dentist, but like I went to the dentist to get my teeth cleaned, and then I had some internship to do stuff after. Yeah, just a busy day. Mondays are always busy. They're a little less busy because House of the Dragon's done, but still busy because it's when I do most of my editing and like thumbnail stuff. And I try to get at least like half my videos out by the end of Monday, and then I try to get the rest done by like at least Wednesday. But yeah. Matthew, here's my advice. Twitter's a bad platform and don't use it. Like it is by far the most toxic social media, where it's literally just there so people get in arguments and call each other names, and it's just, there's nothing really positive on Twitter. Like I see Red Team Review getting attacked for the most random stuff, and I'm just like, struggles of being like a bigger YouTuber, I guess, and you having any sort of opinion means you are going to get like criticism, people calling you names and stuff like that. Which book is my favorite? So I'll give you, if we're talking A Song of Ice and Fire, if we're that's the question, okay, Haley, if you're asking just for A Song of Ice and Fire, my book list goes like A Clash of Kings, A Storm of Swords, Game of Thrones. Ooh, this is where it's interesting because I think I like Feast for Crows now more than I do Dance. And maybe that's part of it because Feast for Crows I did my whole like retrospective of, and like Dance, I just really struggled to get through Dance, and I don't know why. Like I started doing the retrospective, and like I started that when I was still in like doing my last semester of school, and then I just didn't touch it all of summer, and I just didn't want to. So we'll see if I get back to that. I don't know, but I would say of the main like series books, that's probably my least favorite. I would say honestly at this point, I think Fire and Blood is probably 5th. I'd actually put Dance below it. And then I would say Dunk and Egg after Dance, and then A World of Ice and Fire. I swear, Matthew, this fandom is giving me Star Wars fandom vibes now. Yeah, I just think the community is really split. I just think there's people that are on kind of where I am at with House of the Dragon, where I'm just not thrilled with a lot of the decisions they made. And I think there's another side of that fence where it's like people that are much more positive of House of the Dragon, or at least still hold out maybe some hope for the show or whatnot. I have a new question. What is your favorite book to screen scene? Okay, so I'm going to keep this with like A Song of Ice and Fire related, because again, both of those questions would be different or both the answers would be different if we were talking like books in general, because those would be Lord of the Rings answers. But I'm trying, it's got to be The Red Wedding, actually. My favorite book to scene or screen scene is probably The Red Wedding. It's probably my favorite. We're talking House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon's really hard because there's not a lot of like moments that are straight up took from the book and then put on screen. It's a lot of events and stuff like that. But if I had to say one that's like we know what happens in the book and then they did it in the show, that's a tough one. That is a really, really tough one. I would say Rhaenyra's coronation, I think, was probably the one I really enjoyed the most from like an adaptation standpoint from Fire and Blood to like the show. Because the show, I think some of their best moments don't even happen in Fire and Blood. Like Viserys saving Rhaenyra is the best scene of season 1 for me. And then season 2, or not season 2, but also my second favorite season, or I can't speak. Second favorite like moment from House of the Dragon is Alicent's like green dress scene. I think that scene still hits hard. It perfectly wraps up Alicent's arc in the first 5 episodes and transitions to the next actress and Olivia Cook. If I was going to say something from season 2, I would say like the Cargill fight. I think that was one of my favorite moments that they did in season 2. That was like an adaptation of Fire and Blood. It's something that happens in Fire and Blood, but they just twisted it to do, I think, something even better. But those would be some of my favorite stuff. I want to rewatch season 2. Yeah, I definitely think I will probably do that at some point. But yeah. Your teeth do look whiter. Well, that's good. That's good. Can't wait to see Chrissy's comment on the Alicent video. Yeah, that one, like I talked about it in the video, it's so much harder to talk about Alicent compared to Daemon. Whereas like Daemon, I think his problem that I have with him is so much easier to talk about because it's literally on basically one scene or it's like one episode. Whereas like Alicent, it's not that. Alicent is a fundamental issue that grew as the character progressed. And so like it's not all on season 2. Like some of it like was foreshadowed of what we were gonna see in the bad stuff of season like 2 from season 1. So that video is just harder to talk about. You have to like really go through it all. Hi Soup Lord, how are you? Hey Grease, what do you think of young Griff becoming corrupted with power and becoming a sort of Mad King parallel to Dany? I don't think like young Griff is going to become like the Mad King, but I think he's going to be someone that, yes, he'll be corrupted by power and kind of ego. I think he will be somebody that is going to lash out using his emotions. He's a very young kid at this point. He's still very inexperienced in terms of the real world. And so, yeah, I think so. Like, with young Griff coming over and say he takes the throne before Daenerys even gets there, he's going to be feeling like kind of like hot shit. And so when he comes into Daenerys and, you know, they're talking, I think a lot of that interaction is going to come from, you know, young Griff, his ego getting in the way because he's the one that's, you know, revenged the Targaryen family and took the throne back. And now here's Daenerys, who comes in at the very end, didn't help young Griff at all. And now she's saying she should be on the throne as well. So, yeah. But yeah, no House of Dragon for 2 years, but we will have Dunk and Egg in probably less than a year. I think it's being said that Dunk and Egg is going to occur earlier on next year, so we probably won't even have to wait a whole year before we get more Song of Ice and Fire content, which is going to be awesome. And, you know, I assume Dunk and Egg stuff is going to be really interesting. I think something that's weird for me is, like, the House of the Dragon season has, like, come to a close, and you would think for me as a YouTube channel on that like medium would start doing worse, but I've actually done like way better. Like after the season's like cooled down, there's not as much competition on YouTube. It's actually been a really good time. Like my top 10 best and worst like changes from the book to the show is probably one of my best performing videos. Like maybe of all time, like depending on how it keeps going, but like in terms of like a 30-hour time frame, one of my more successful videos, which I'm glad. I really enjoyed doing that video, and that video took a lot of effort because I went through basically 2 entire seasons worth of like pictures and trying to gather all that stuff, which took a while, especially because my external hard drive broke, so I'm on a new one now. But yeah, Stannis Baratheon is the reincarnation of Maekar Targaryen. I agree. I 100% agree, Uncle Ruckus. I made a video on that, basically. I did a whole, like, Maekar Targaryen breakdown video, and there's a lot of comparisons to Stannis, yeah. Or I don't think like no, I don't think so. I don't think so in general. No. I don't think they'll begin to like start fighting in Winds of Winter. How did so many Valyrian steel swords end up in Westeros? Well, they would have been a really hot commodity to probably buy. And when the dragons are so prevalent, like, you know, during Valyria's time, it wouldn't have been as rare, right? We think of those swords as being really rare now because there weren't any dragons, right? So I think it's one of those things that it's one of those things where we look back in history and we go, why are there so many swords that end up in Westeros? But I feel like it's actually kind of a simple answer. Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is the best. I like a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I love the story of Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. But if you want me to like switch out any of the other books, I love the political intrigue of this series. And like, yes, a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms does have that, but it's not about that. That's not the main focus. Like a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, in my opinion, is a better version of like Brienne's storyline in A Feast for Crows. That's how it reads because it's like it's more interesting. Stakes seem higher in a lot of moments. So that's what I'll be interested to see. Like, how do a Song of Ice and Fire fans, or not, maybe not a Song of Ice and Fire fans, but casual viewers of like say House of the Dragon, how are they going to react to Dunk and Egg, which is something that has never really been done or tried in the Game of Thrones universe because we've only had two shows that were very big, scale. They were more about the Targaryen dynasty or the Baratheon dynasty. It was about this, fighting for the throne, and Dunk and Egg's not that at all. So it'll be interesting to see like how do people react to that, especially coming off of House of the Dragon season 2, which was kind of slow and it disappointed a lot of people. It'll be interesting to see how that actually is viewed. I think it should be good if they stick to the source material and just, adapt it like at least decently well. It should go over well. Finally converted you to a Feast supporter, Grease. Like, I don't know if I'm a Feast supporter. Like, I'm just saying it's not the worst book of the main 5. Like, I don't know. I just, Dance to me is so weird because I think it's the most inconsistent book of the entire series. Like, it has such a like big highs in that book, but there's so many lows. Like, it's so inconsistent from chapter to chapter, and sometimes that just takes me out of it when you have like 2 or 3 chapters in a row that are just like, I don't know. I mean, Stannis' entire plot line of Dance with Dragons is one of the redeeming qualities of the book. It's one of the things that holds it up. Feast over Dance is going to make me die a painful slow death. Yeah, like, I don't think it's like by that much. I think both of them are like kind of around the same area. But like, I think the first 3 books of the series are in a league of its own. Like, I think the next 2, it's like, yeah, they're still very good, but I don't think they're like anywhere near the top or the first 3. Song of Ice and Fire, Lord of the Rings. It's an interesting question. Like, if you're going off of the books, I think Lord of the Rings is better than A Song of Ice and Fire. I don't think it's close because of just basic idea that Lord of the Rings is a complete story. And until A Song of Ice and Fire is completed, or if it's ever completed, it can't compete with the completed narrative of Lord of the Rings, in my opinion. And part of it is I'm also like, The Fellowship of the Ring is my favorite book. Like, even, with competing with A Song of Ice and Fire, I still think Fellowship is my favorite book. It's my favorite movie. Fellowship of the Ring is just my favorite piece of like media or content, I guess. Why did the Vale not help Robb? I feel like it wasn't explored enough in the books. We are kind of mentioned that there are some Starks who married some on the Vale when Robb and Cat discusses heirs. Well, it's pretty clear, Marcus, that Lysa, for one, who was in control of the Eyrie and the Vale, didn't want to go to war, right? She, for one, was being told by Littlefinger to do so. 2, she was kind of scared of the Lannisters in general and didn't want to waste the strength of the Vale. And that's kind of where it's at. Like, it's more just Lysa being kind of stupid than it is anything to do with, like, the actual connection that Robb and Catelyn had with, like, the Vale, for instance. I get it, Dakota. We all like the Red Wedding for other reasons. I get it. I get it. Even though they might be a little odd, but As someone who didn't read the House of the Dragon books, I would say the best is probably the dinner scene with Viserys. That's a good one. That's a good one, PK. That's a good one. It's weird though, PK, because like that event is so the event that they kind of reference in season 1 is weird because in the book, that like kind of event where it's like the iconic shot of Alicent and Rhaenyra kind of like looking to the other sides, and that's where basically the greens and the blacks come from in terms of the sides. Way different context in the book, so it's hard to like say like for me that's like a like best adaptation because it's kind of an adaptation, but it's not really in terms of like the symbolism or what they both mean for the show. Because like the greens and the blacks, like that was already a thing like after episode 5, so. Daming leading the Gold Cloaks is great. Yeah, that's a good one as well. I think the season 1 has a lot of good moments. Dunk and Egg, A Game of Thrones, A Storm of Swords, A Feast for Crows, A Clash of Kings, Dance Dragons, Fire and Blood. That is hurtful, Matthew. That is hurtful. That's very hurtful. That is hurtful. How is no. You can't no. Clash of Kings is no, silly, no. I respect it though, but I think A Clash of Kings is better than most of those that you rated above it. Well, welcome back, Zeno. Welcome back. Also, we're keeping kind of I didn't know what I wanted to stream today. I don't know if I want to do something, but I want to do something very, like, low-key. I wanted to do very, very low-key. My dad actually told me several times that he, as a kid, didn't enjoy the Lord of the Rings books and that they have super much or so much filler. PK, I'm trying to think of like where you would say there's filler in Lord of the Rings. Like, the first book, in my opinion, is one of the best paced things of all time. Like, in terms of Tolkien's ability to take you on an adventure and like actually make you feel like you're part of the Fellowship or you're going from this place to that place with the characters. I think there's no other author that I've read that's been able to captivate me and put me into this world. So personally, and again, Lord of the Rings is very close to my heart, especially the movies, more so than the books, even though I love the books. I don't know where you would say there's filler. Like, I feel like almost every single thing has a reason for why it's there. Like, to either drive, characters to a certain point, or it's to build up characters and all that. So I don't know where you would say there's filler in Lord of the Rings, but I'd have to like get more of where people think there'd be filler at. Maekar or Baelor? I personally like Maekar more as a character, but I think if you're talking about being a king, Baelor would have been better. But yeah. Also, fun fact: I did a D&D session Sunday, I guess, yesterday, and I named my guy Baelor in honor of Baelor Breakspear. If anybody has not read Dunk and Egg, you will probably like him. He is a very important character. Why can't I move my chat? My chat is frozen. Okay. Well, this is when we're going to have to sign into chat because it's not working on Streamlabs, so that's good. Let's go back up. Hi, JC. How are you? Hey, came to your channel while watching A Song of Ice and Fire this past year. I'm currently reading Stormlight Archive by Sanderson. It's amazing. Have you read or thought about reading it? I have never heard of that, Drew. So I will have to look up. I'll have to look into it. What is it like about? Like, what kind of like genre is it? Is it like fantasy? Is it like a sci-fi thing? I will say right away, not a big sci-fi guy. So if it is sci-fi, not a huge fan. Like, I'm just not. Like, Star Wars is the only sci-fi that I can like really resonate with. I felt like, I don't know, but yeah. Also got a video with JC coming out at probably the end of the week because it's a very long video. I still gotta edit it, but yeah, we talk about House of the Dragon. Also, I will say for the people that are not big fans of all the House of the Dragon content, probably will be done with like House of the Dragon coverage after this week, and then we'll kind of be back to some of our more like normal series and stuff. And I'm preparing the rereads to start. I want to be like, when the episode drops, I want to be like a couple episodes ahead in terms of my notes and like all that stuff. But that'll be starting probably here in like a couple weeks. But yeah. It'll be interesting to see how young Griff deals with Dany, because he knows he couldn't ever beat her in a battle, but he might also develop a big ego, which won't clash well with Dany's big ego. Yeah, I agree. I think the two will definitely clash. They're being set up to be foes, not to be like allies, in my opinion. I do agree. Euron's plotline will be interesting in Winds of Winter. I'm more of a Stannis and young Griff. I want to see where they go. Bad news, Ryan Connell said that season 3 will deviate away from the book even more with Lena. Specifically, they'll be focusing much more on magic and prophecy. I mean, radical, that doesn't surprise me. Like, based off the way the season like ended, I already figured that. Like, that's not really a surprise to me. Like, based on the way they went with this season, I could tell, like, they don't really, like, they're taking the skeleton of the book and they're trying to apply the big events. Because if you were going to trying to adapt what we still have left in the war and the like things to wrap it up, there's no way you could do it in 16 episodes. So that doesn't surprise me. I personally, I don't like the idea of Helena and prophecy and all these things, because it undercuts characters actually making decisions and having those decisions be personal and making them driven to make these decisions. But I don't know. In House of the Dragon, it seems to be proved that you can see the future, which I don't know. I don't think that's ever really established. Like, you can get dreams of like certain things happening, so I guess you can somewhat see the future, but it's not as clear as that, right? So like, if you think about A Clash of Kings, Jojen is the one that kind of has this like, well, I guess it's Jojen like and Bran. They have this idea of like, you know, the sea coming to Winterfell and all that stuff and the waves, and they, you know, Bran sees all these people that are, you know, gonna die. Or I don't remember if it's Bran or Jojen that has the dream that's like sees all the different people at Winterfell that are going to die. And so you can, but it's not clear. It's not like you're seeing like exactly what's gonna happen type stuff. I'm always fuzzy. That's my least. I'm not the big into magic into like that much into Song of Ice and Fire. So asking me stuff about the Bran plot is not my strong suit. I agree, JC. Like, Dunk and Egg should be easier to adapt than Fire and Blood, but if like that's my thing, is if they screw up Dunk and Egg, I have like the faith of anything that HBO does with the Song of Ice and Fire, I will be completely lost. Also, hi Cannibal. You know, you were missing from season 2. What happened? Where were you? Did they cut you because of a budget cut? I'm just saying, I gotta ask. Yeah, JC, I think the Essos stuff should be better in the next book, just based upon the fact that I think Dany has a lot more she has to do, to lead to a lot more interesting plots going on. I think Tyrion is going to be surrounded by more interesting characters. Like, Tyrion was actually good when he had interesting characters around him to bounce off of, like, his, I guess, dialogue, his humor, those things. Like, the problem with Dance becomes he's a character that is already kind of broken, but there's not any real other characters around to make his conversations with people interesting or things like that. And he's going to have that, right? If Barristan lives, you know, there'll be Barristan, there'll be Victarion, you know, Tyrion. There's a lot of different people there that are very interesting to like interact with. Dance is actually my favorite book with some of my all-time favorite moments, and Dance has my favorite characters and just plenty of stuff happening, in my opinion. Yeah, I get that, PK. I just think, to me, it is just so inconsistent. Like, Tyrion's plot in the first half is pretty solid, but then he just dives off a cliff. Quentin's plot is pretty awful in that book. Like, Daenerys is, I don't think bad, but she's kind of inconsistent in her own right. Like, she doesn't, like some chapters she has feel like they can be condensed. I don't know. I just feel like, to me, Dance is a very inconsistently written book. But Dunk to Egg. Winter is coming, Egg. We need you on the Iron Throne. I must become Lord Commander to ensure you become king. God, if they did something stupid like that. I would pay to watch a Boromir versus Ned Stark show. I'm just going to say it. Boromir would clap Ned, and it wouldn't be close. I love A Song of Ice and Fire and all that, but Boromir was fighting Uruk-hai off with arrows in his chest. Ned's getting clapped. That's all I got to say. Gondor needs no crossovers. That's true. Do you think next season we'll see the Isle of It? I think... I'm going to say no, Cannibal. I will say no. But also, where were you? Are we going to see you next season? That's all I'm saying. I think, though, it will be probably the last season. I think that makes the most sense. In terms of, you want to keep, like, your major, like, actors and things like that, and save that for the last season, I think. Grease, besides Dance of Dragons, what other time periods do you hope become a multi-season show? I think the Blackfire Rebellion, the first one, is the perfect one to get some sort of show like that. I think the other one you could do that I think would be really cool would be the first Dornish conquest. Like, say they do a Aegon the Conqueror movie thing, or maybe it's even like a really short season. You can't really do an Aegon's Conquest show, in my opinion, for like 10 episodes. I just don't think it would work. But I think if you did do something like that, and then you go into a first Dornish, conquest, and then you continue doing that show, and maybe you have a time skip right after the end of the conquest, if that takes a season, and you're during that conquest, you're showing like young versions of like Aenys and Maegor, and then the next season, you have Aenys taking over, and the struggles going on there. Like Aenys and Maegor feels so much like Viserys and Daemon. It feels so similar that I think that would resonate with people really well. And then just you go into Maegor taking the throne from Aenys. It would like kind of almost repeat the same formula, but instead of like having it between the Greens and the Blacks, you'd have Maegor trying to take the throne. Like if Daemon was to take the throne, versus then Aenys' first kid Aegon. So that'd be really cool. I think I see personally. I have a bias. I would like to see that show more. I'd love to see like people have thrown this name out, and I think it's a perfect name, like Sons of the Dragon. I think that'd be such a cool show. I think that would be really cool. But okay, if we got that show and they make Maegor just like not human at all, like he just is like just very cruel. He's just somebody that has no personality and is just an asshole at all times, I will be pissed. Like, Maegor does not seem like that kind of guy. Maegor seems a lot like Stannis in terms of like his demeanor, and I think he just gets a bad rep. But we'll see. Flash and Feast are interchangeable in my ranking. I know it's a funky one. That's fair. I mean, I don't know. I have a personal bias because I love the War of the Five Kings time period. Like, that's why in my banner, which I've had the same banner for like a number of years now, why I have it basically the War of the Five Kings. Unfortunately, Balon, didn't really make it on here. I also could have put Mance on it. Like, they just didn't make it because it's like, if you have 6, then it's like, okay, well, it's just not going to look right. It just makes sense to have 2 and 2, and And the artist to do it, I didn't even tell him where to put each individual one. So if you guys don't know, my banner is Renly, Joffrey, Robb, and Stannis all behind like my logo. But he put the more based rulers on the cool side and the not so good ones on the other side. I think that's all I'm saying. Let me go back to chat. What are some of your early predictions for House of the Dragon Season 3 changes? So changes, I think Tumbleton will be condensed. I think that's a big one right off the bat. I don't know. I think we're going to see probably Daeron rescuing Otto. I think that's going to be our introduction into him in the next season, probably. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think Jace, again, spoilers, so take that as you will. I think Jace will have a much different end because there's a lot of weird stuff going on right now that like contradicts the book. So, for instance, a certain plot line in the book is, okay, so we already saw this in season 2 that Rhaenyra is sending away her youngest sons to go to Essos to then go to Pentos. Well, a certain event happens that causes an issue. And right now, I don't know how those two characters, or not two characters, one of those characters then makes it back, given how young they are and how young their dragons are, or the dragon is. So maybe we see something where it's like, we have this Triarchy fleet, which is coming, to fight the Battle of the Gullet. And that also is part of it. And, Jace has to do something. And then maybe that leads to his death. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I think is going to get changed. I just think that's apparent. From where the story is right now, that's got to happen. Now, the other thing that's got to happen, Rhaenyra has to lose her shit at some point in this next season. And I don't know if that's going to be right after the Battle of the Gullet because of Jace's death, which makes a lot of sense. Because how are we going to get to a situation in which Rhaenyra doesn't trust Daemon so much so that, like, she basically orders the killing of, in this scenario, Nettles isn't a character, it's Rhaena. How does that even happen? So, like, there is so much that has to happen in this next season to push forward Rhaenyra's character because season 2 didn't. Like, season 2 just kind of left her in the same, like, spot. I know some people buy into this idea that, like, oh, well, Rhaenyra has been changed. The innocent people she sacrificed, and she's starting to view herself like as this godly, like, prophetic figure. But, like, I don't get that because in episode 7, that's all based upon Rhaenyra just being an absolute moron, being completely illogical. Something that she's never shown in the entire show in terms of after, like, we got the older version of Rhaenyra. Like, remember, older Rhaenyra was smart enough to try and put, her children with Alicent's children to try and circumvent a civil war happening before the war happens. Like, you can't just say, oh yeah, well, Rhaenyra is just stupid enough to where she throws every single person that volunteers to be a dragon seed to collect one dragon. What do you mean? That's so stupid. Like, it's just so dumb. But I don't know. That's my problem. Like, these characters aren't even close to what the book version of these characters are. So trying to predict what those characters do with book events that also don't fit a lot of the characters where they are right now is very difficult to do. And that's why I'm like, stuff has to happen with Rhaenyra. But yeah.
The Lannisters send their regards.
Hi, Gerlin, how are you? And thank you for the super chat. How much change Tyrion doesn't get injured on the bridge of ships? He won't be out of commission for the aftermath. So you're saying, I guess, if, like, Tyrion doesn't get injured, what would have taken place, like, politically if he had still been in commission? I don't know, really. Like, I don't know what would have, like, possibly changed because Tywin still would have claimed Hand of the King. Like, that still would have occurred. And so maybe, like, I mean, there's even a better chance if Tyrion doesn't get injured right there that he actually dies. Like, if he continues the battle, there's just more chances for him to die. And so him actually getting out of the battle but not dying is actually quite good for him. But let's just go with the idea that, okay, he comes back, he meets up with his father, all these things. Maybe Tyrion could have controlled, like, the propaganda going on against him because Cersei instantly goes to work, condemning Tyrion because of, him having this alleged whore that Cersei believes and all this stuff that she's taken Tommen prisoner. Tyrion could have tried to, like, spin why he did those things. I just don't think it would have worked because it's very clear that Tywin is just using Tyrion. Tywin doesn't actually care. Like, Tyrion is already being judged. It doesn't matter what Tyrion's rationale is. So I don't know what would have changed that much. Like, maybe he would have been able to, like, keep his, soldiers. Like, he had a lot of sellswords bought. He had a lot of clansmen, and those kind of get sent home because of Tywin, because he pays them off, or some of them get bought into his control, like he takes control of the Gold Cloaks basically right away from Tyrion. Maybe Tyrion would have been able to like maybe forestall a few of those things, but Tyrion not being Hand of the King anymore just kind of completely undercuts all of his power. So to me, I don't know how much would have changed. I think Tyrion would have been in a much like better position. Maybe not much better, but a better position than he ends up being in. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know. What do you guys think on that idea? I think that's an interesting idea. Lord of the Rings books were very boring in my opinion. Interesting, Soup. I've never had that problem with Lord of the Rings. I mean, I do think like for me, Fellowship and Return of the King don't have any moments where like I think there's a lot of downtime. I think those books are really good. I think Two Towers, the one criticism I have of it is that it's not paced well. Like the problem with Two Towers is your entire front half of the story, right, is you have basically the entire Rohan plot. So you've got the Merry and Pippin plot with, you know, the Ents, and then you have the other plot going on, which is, you know, the three hunters and them trying to defend Rohan, all that stuff. That all happens in the first half. Like Helm's Deep happens in the first half of Two Towers. And so the pacing feels really weird because you go to probably the most climactic moment of the second like act of the story. And then the second half, you start up once again with Frodo and Sam like walking around, getting lost, and they run into Smeagol, and, you know, they struggling through trying to get to Mordor and all that stuff. So it's like, it feels really weird that that wasn't intercut in between the Rohan stuff. Like the movie, I think, drastically improves upon the source material in that regard. And like, I get the idea is like, well, Frodo and Sam are really the main plot. Like they're the main like story, because if the ring is not destroyed, everything else that everybody else is doing doesn't matter, right? So like in that part of it, I get why Tolkien would have that at the end. And also, it wasn't really supposed to be like 3 books. Either supposed to be like multiple like story or whatever. I don't know exactly how it's supposed to be explained or whatever, but it's just a very weird read because the pacing gets to like a cliff, right? It gets to the very peak top of it, right? Where Rohan is outnumbered, and you have Aragorn, you know, leading with Theoden, trying to lead the people of Rohan to survival against all odds. And then you come all the way down. Like the pace goes from the very top all the way down. And like, I don't think Return of the King or Fellowship has that problem. Like Fellowship, like I talked about, is I think the best paced book of all time in terms of just, it's a perfect way of, okay, you'll have building tension, or like the start of it, you'll have building tension. And then as the tension reaches its highest, it'll then, you know, go to like a resting period. So we feel safe with our characters for a little while, but there's still in the back of our mind some unease. And so those kind of like the Crick Hollow segments, or the Tom Bombadil section, or when they get to Bree, like you, or Rivendell, you have all those natural like resting points where you can, you know, process what's all happening while also realizing, okay, there's still a threat out there. And then you build up that conflict even more, and it just keeps going. It starts building higher and higher as you go through the book, and then it has that just natural conclusion for all of its characters. So, I don't know. Haley, I'm glad you like Feast. But yeah, I think Feast for Crows for me of the first 4 is probably the weakest, and then I think Dance Dragons and Feast are kind of around the same quality, but I do now prefer Feast. When I read Lord of the Rings, it's pretty underwhelming. Interesting. I didn't know this many people like were underwhelmed by Lord of the Rings. I thought it was just really good. Also, I'm realizing how far behind in chat I am. So, you know, that's where we are right now. We're just really far behind. That's just how it's got to be. You guys expect it now. You know, when I'm reading every comment, more or less, you know, this is what you get. My dad said there were pages of elf language that aren't understandable. I mean, there's like songs that like are translated from Elvish, but like I don't think there's actually Elfish on the page that you can't understand. I don't know about that one. Fellowship of the Ring is my favorite movie of the 3. Two Towers is my favorite book of the 3. That is very interesting to me at JC. I'd love to hear like, okay, so give me your thoughts. Like, why do you like Two Towers so much? Because I think Two Towers is by far the weakest of the 3. But I think that's really interesting. There's like 2 pages to describe a hill. See, but I feel like that's part of it, right? Because for me, it's part of the way you're being invested into the story. Like, I love that in terms of I am really invested in it. Like, when I get into it, I think Tolkien does a great job of explaining the surroundings, explaining the feeling of where, our characters are. And so it really puts you into that sense of where the characters are. And he just has a deep love of nature and things like that. But fantasy. Okay, Drew. Okay, I might definitely like it then. Uncle Ruckus, I am not a big fan of Dune. I don't like the way the story is told in terms of like you're constantly in different people's heads. I think it's not exactly confusing. It's just annoying to read. I don't like that style at all. I don't like that in the first book. Apparently, this isn't as much of a problem going forward, but like in the first half of the book, I've read the first half of Dune, and you're constantly getting like big reveals that are going to happen later on revealed before they happen. Like, it's the equivalent of like if George R. R. Martin literally gave us a chapter with the phrase or like with Walder Frey, and he's like, yeah, the Red Wedding's going to happen on this day, and this is how it's all going to go down. And it's like, why would you ever like write that? That makes no sense to write. You just took away all of your like suspense for stuff that's happening later on. I don't know. Hi, you're on. How are you? You made JC's or the Advocate's top #1 favorite storyline, so that's pretty cool. Stormlight Archive is epic fantasy. Book 1, The Way of Kings, is definitely up there as one of the best fantasy books I've ever read. Definitely competes with the Song of Ice and Fire if you're interested. Ooh, I might have to look into that then. Okay. I only truly sat down and watched all of Game of Thrones last year, and then I read the books. Zeno, that's a lot of grind to be putting in, a lot of hours. I get that. I tried watching Game of Thrones in middle school, and oh boy, I started my obsession with it last year. Chrissy, you are. If you were watching this in middle school, like I was there too. Like I watched Game of Thrones when I started. Like I was in middle school. For people that aren't American, that's like, how old is that? That's like 13 or like 13 probably. I was 13 when I probably watched Game of Thrones for the first time. I think. Way too young. Way too young. Yeah, this is a Stannis channel. My Stannis is my favorite character in the book, so that's me. Hi, Ashley. How are you? I agree, Joseph, on the idea of prophecy and how it's affecting the story right now. Will Randall Tarly betray the Lannisters given Cersei's incompetence, Kevin's death, and the arrival of a Targaryen? And I think there's even more into that, right? Is that the Tarleys, in a lot of ways, feel kind of disrespected almost by the Tyrells, right? I think that's another part of it. Like, if you're Randall Tarly and, you're never getting any of the credit and, you have your lord above you, right? Always taking all the credit, like Mace Tyrell, right? I think there's part of it in that way, too. Like, I think in this idea that, their idea that young Griff has friends in the Reach, I think the Tarleys will be one of those friends. Outside of, like, people like, obviously, like, the Peak. Joey, I don't know how they would, like, ruin the Battle of the Gullet. I just don't know, like, how it's possible. It should be a slam dunk, and it still should be really good. But I don't know. We'll see. And that's why I say, like, let me let this go first because it's going to talk over it. Thank you. Let me continue my thought and then I'll get to your super chat. But thank you already. The Battle of the Gullet should be a beautiful spectacle for all the people that, like, in season 2 didn't like that we didn't see much of the war. The Battle of the Gullet will remedy that, and that's why I think cutting 2 episodes in House of the Dragon season 2 was really detrimental. Regardless of the problems I have with the show, I think the Battle of the Gullet really would have helped, especially for casual viewers. But yeah. Chan, thank you for the super chat and all the support you always give. But the reason the reason Bran was not actually shown in season 5 was because he was screwing around in every timeline until he found the one where he won. He was that pissed about his legs. It's all connected. Agreed, Chin. Agreed. He was fucking around. He's being Doctor Strange in Infinity War, and he's just like, What is the worst way? How can I ruin Game of Thrones and make everybody hate this show? How can I do it? I found it. And then he locked in. He came back in season 6. It's actually insane that Bran wasn't in season 5. When you really think about it, like, that's actually insane. Like, Bran finally gets to the point where, like, he's an interesting character. Like, he can start learning and having all these visions and all this, crazy crap. And they just didn't show him, like, at all. Instead, we got Jaime and Bronn fucking around in Dorne. That's crazy. But yeah. Also, Supercuts Delights made a video today, and he was, like, trash talking season 5 a little bit. And I was like, man, that's actually kind of crazy. Like, I am someone that compares season 2 of House of the Dragon a lot to season 5. And it's not the greatest comparison because they have opposite problems. Like, season 5, its biggest strength is it has, like, a couple plot lines. Like, I'd say half the plot lines of season 5 are really good. Like, Cersei's plot line is fantastic. Jon's plot line is fantastic. Daenerys' plot line, in my opinion, outside of, like, a couple minor things at certain points, pretty good. Stannis' plotline, pretty good all the way up until the end. They don't stick the ending. Okay. Then you have bad stuff, right? You have the Littlefinger stuff. You have the Dorne stuff. Like, it kind of almost balances out. It takes away what could have been a great season and makes it kind of not as great. It's pretty okay, right? House of the Dragon season 2, I think, is almost the same way. Like, Rhaenyra's plotline this whole season wasn't really that interesting for the most part. Like, the Green stuff, one of the plot lines, was pretty good. The Daemon plot line was good until it got destroyed, and so none of that plot line matters anymore. Very similar to Stannis in season 5. Like, I don't know. That's something where I'm like, I think season 5 is just like, it's either on par with House of the Dragon season 2 or it's better. But I don't know. Also, for anybody in here that's in the fantasy league going forward, I know this is not like the best like group of people to be talking about football with, I feel like. But I will be pushing the draft back just because there's a lot of like football players early on that still have some issues right now, or injured or having contract issues, so we're gonna push the draft back. Can you say one nice thing about Darkstar? Okay. Darkstar seems like a really good warrior. He seems like he would be a very attractive dude, given Ashley's fascination about him. So I think he's probably a pretty handsome guy. People probably, he's probably a ladies' man. I could definitely see it. And yeah, I gave you 2 nice things about Darkstar, Ashley. That's all I'm saying. Do you think we will ever see Jon Snow make it down to King's Landing, or will he stay in the North? I think we'll see Jon Snow in King's Landing. I think by the end of the story, yeah, I do think so, Joe. Drew, if I become obsessed with it, you can take credit. What are your house words, Grease? Okay. These are kind of long. This is kind of a long house words. But okay, I gotta like think about my exact wording here because I haven't said it in a while. It's more or less like this. I gotta edit it out and figure out exactly what it is, but it's more or less you have your right to your opinion, even if it's the wrong one. That's more or less my house word. For this YouTube channel, that is my house word. Hannibal, I agree. You're a good dragon. You didn't hurt nobody. I agree, Joseph. I thought a lot of the stuff was kind of fan servicey in the prophecy. Was not a huge fan. Yeah, I think Victarion could definitely be gone, like from the story by the time like Daenerys even reaches Westeros. Quentin just needs to die. Guys, finish this sentence. When you play the Game of Thrones, you subscribe and like. There is no middle ground. It's that simple. That simple, Zeno. It's that simple. That could also be my house word. Those are also good house words. George R. R. Martin didn't tell me when I appeared George has the power. Fair enough. Oh, it's Arian, dude. Arian, I'm getting excited. I'm getting hyped for your debut in the Game of Thrones universe. I'm excited. I'm very excited for you. Euron, when do you think Victarion dies? Do you think you kill him? What do you think happens to him? In a percentage, what is the likelihood of Hodor being Dunk's grandson? 100%. It's a thing. It's a thing. It has to be. How cool would that be? I'm just saying. Will Winds of Winter come before I okay, so wait. Zam, I need to know. So how old are you right now? Because that factors into my decision. Like, if you're, say, like 20, right? And you're talking about grandchildren, like, I'd hope the hell we've got it by the time you have grandchildren. But if you're like, I don't know. What is an age where most people become like a grandfather? Like, what is it, like 60? Is that when most people maybe become like grandparents? Like, I need more context clues. Daemon is my favorite. He has knowledge of war greater than all usurpers combined. He isn't too eager to war as his youth. He grows patient and traded his impulsiveness with cunning. Daemon is a man of... Fair enough. Very, very good words there. I like that. Those words. Who's your favorite Targaryen bastard? I'll probably just go with... I like Daemon Blackfire. I won't lie. I was gonna say Bloodraven there for a second, but I do like a little Daemon Blackfire. I can't lie. Okay, so I've been asked this before. Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. Like, it's just so stupid. It's completely done so that people will be like, oh, it's Tony Stark. It's Robert Downey Jr. Okay, well, I gotta go see the movie now. It's like, give me a break. Like, come on. We're reducing Doctor Doom just into an evil Tony Stark. Like, come on. It's just no. It's no. Yeah, that's insane, Chrissy. That Daeron got cast in Dunk and Egg before House of the Dragon. Wow. Will Winds of Winter be released before or after 2026, you reckon? I'm going to say before. I'm going to be positive for once, Dan, and I'm going to say we get it in December of 2026. Like, right at the end of 2026. Wait, I guess I'm saying after 2026 because I'm saying the end of 2026. Actually, I'm going after. Daemon Blackfire or Baylor breaks. See, this is a hard question again. Like, I like Maekar the best of those three characters, but Baelor's the best king. PK. I tried to give a spoiler warning. Some stuff happens. That's all I'm gonna say. Some stuff happens. Not going to happen, Greece? What do you mean it's not going to happen? What do you mean? I'm just realizing I just now got to the point where that super chat came up. I'm so far behind chat. I think they will reduce the gullet down. Like, we probably won't see the sacking of High Tide and Spice Town, or it'll be alluded to. Yeah, I agree. I think we'll like see it like just very, very briefly, and then we'll just kind of focus on some other stuff. Just watch the writers keep Rhaenyra as the hero of the story and turn Daemon back to being... Dude. I didn't think I'd have to say this by the time we got to season 3, but if Rhaenyra is like not like significantly impacted by episode 4 of next season, I just don't know what story they're adapting anymore. I don't even know what is going on. Maegor's an underrated king. Maegor, he's just the GOAT. I saw that. I think Quinn, the GM, did a live stream about the Targaryen kings. I don't know where he placed Maegor. But boy, if he put Maegor below B, we're going to have some words. I agree, Matthew. I think that's where we're going in terms of the saving of Aegon. Maegor is such a good character. That's all I'm saying. Him and Visenya are such good characters. The fuck were the Mountain Clans? Well, they were intimidated by Rhaena. Probably, Joey. Probably. Um, with all these changes the show has made, I don't know how, or I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how season 3 is gonna work. Same. I'm just pretty much guessing at this. Like, me and JC, we did a prediction video before season 2 came out, and boy, so many of those predictions were wrong. So many of those predictions were wrong. I was out here saying, oh yeah, Rhaenyra would be such a different character by the end of season 2, that she would grow so much and all this stuff. Fuck me, did she go nowhere. Sorry for my language, Dakota. Sorry. Boy, that was bad. Daemon was just not anywhere close to what I thought he was going to be. Like, him or Corlys. Like, I was like, oh yeah, they're going to be the generals, and because they have all this, war knowledge and all this stuff, and they're going to be like the heads of the Team Black for a while, and like, no, that just never happened. What other stuff did I predict? I predicted that Blood and Cheese was going to be like so good, and it was pretty like it was good, but it wasn't like what it could have been. I was actually kind of right. Like, JC, you kind of like were convincing me. I was like, oh man, maybe we'll see like a certain event happen at the end of the season. But I was right. My initial prediction was right. It was going to be the Dragon Seed stuff, and then we were going to have like a cooldown episode. That's what we more or less got. So I was right on the ending. I got the ending almost spot on, but Fire and Blood, the Silmarillion, I agree, Uncle Ruckus. I think parts of the Silmarillion are really hard to read. Oh my god, I hate this so much. When I barely scroll down, and then it just is like, hey, this is where you want to scroll all the way to the bottom, don't you? Not where I want to go. Because now I lost where I was. Where am I at here? Where am I at on chat? So far behind in chat, dude. So far behind. If Stannis was made, the hand of the realm would actually be united against the others. Agreed. Hey, Grease, do you think that anything important will happen with Jane, or will she just disappear from the story with how much is already... Yeah, I think she's going to disappear. I would not expect that character to get really any more screen time. Like, season 2 proved this show was not... That's another thing I predicted. I predicted, oh yeah, this show is going to expand. We were going to go to more places and all this stuff, and that was not the case either. We stayed in Dragonstone and King's Landing pretty much the entire season outside of Harrenhal. So we went from basically 2 plot lines, I guess, in season 1 to 3 plot lines. So, yeah. Does anyone know the point of the Rhaenyra Mysaria kiss? There was Ashley, I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you. I couldn't tell you. Oh, hold on. Okay. Let me go back to this question. Ditto. I thought you meant like Jane Eyre from House of the Dragon, but if you're referring to Jane Westerling, I don't think she will be that much of a significant character going forward. So I think it still applies the same, but I'm starting to realize I think you meant Jane Westerling, but I also don't think she's going to be a major character in the story. Like, we might see her maybe in the prologue of Winds of Winter, and maybe she dies, maybe she doesn't die. I just don't find her to be like have any real relevance to the rest of the story, unless she's pregnant. Yeah. But yeah, the Rhaenyra Mysaria kiss meant nothing. It didn't go anywhere. There was no payoff to it. Maybe they'll do something the next season with it, but yeah. Yeah, it was something that I believe Emma Darcy came up with, and they just kind of did on the spot, so that's why there's not a lot of build up to it, and then also there's nothing that comes of it. So maybe they'll do something in season 3. I don't know. Have you read the Farseer trilogy? If you do, you notice the parallels between Song of Ice and Fire between multiple characters. If not, I believe what's Cupid Jon Snow's story is linked to Fitz's chivalry and his wolf. I do not know anything about that, Kayla, but I may have to look into it. Ghost, you're a young Griff supporter. We'd love to see that. My favorite book of all time is probably the last Percy Jackson book. Oh my god, the conclusion is so beyond perfect. I think it's the best ending anything has. PK, it's a good ending. I did see that the season 2 trailer or came out, and so I think that's coming out, I guess, next year at some point. I will cover that again. I covered the first season. I never would have ever said that. I never would have believed I would have said this if you would have asked me. I rated Percy Jackson, the first season, better than House of the Dragon season 2. And Percy Jackson season 1 was not great. It was good. I don't know. I wouldn't even say it's good. It was a 7 out of 10. Like, it had a lot of redeeming things about it, but it also had a lot of problems. It was like I don't know. I don't even. If you would have told me at the very beginning of this year, going into House of the Dragon, that I would have rated Percy Jackson season 1 from Disney Plus of all places, and then also the Fallout TV show above House of the Dragon in terms of rating, I would have told you are literally smoking crack. I like Sam and Frodo's journey a lot in Two Towers, not to mention them having to put up with Gollum is both interesting and fantastic. I agree. I think that is like a good part of Two Towers. I just don't think it's paced that well. Like, I think their journey is interesting, but not when you're reading it back to back. Like I think the way Two Towers, the movie, does it, where it takes a lot of these things and it implements them in between, the stuff going on in Rohan, because it's more of your action stuff, helps the pace. What I find fascinating, because I just finished actually watching all 3 of the extended editions. I finished Return of the King. I've been kind of watching maybe an hour, every night before I go to sleep. And one thing I really think is fascinating is how they took a lot of the Two Towers plot from the book and put it in Return of the King. The movie doesn't catch up with Return of the King in the book with Sam and Frodo until 2 hours into the extended edition. It's kind of wild, but yeah. Deadpool and Wolverine is officially the highest earning R-rated movie of all time. It was a great movie. I saw it twice. Fantastic movie. I still love that movie. It single-handedly pulled Marvel out of the depths of hell that it was in. And, who knew? Actually, make a funny movie and have actual storytelling and actually do, fan service in a way that doesn't feel cheap. Crazy. But yeah, great movie. Got me, actually kind of back into Marvel a little bit. Not fully, because I don't trust them at all. But, yeah. I did like that movie. Agreed, Joseph. I don't think those prophecies or anything makes anything better in the show. My brother was 14 when he watched Game of Thrones for the first time. Yep, too young. Too young. Even I watched it at that age, and I know, yeah, too young. Way too young. It did instill a lot of good things, actually thinking about, critical thinking of why people make certain decisions, and storytelling that actually has consequence. All that was pretty cool. But yeah. Ryan kind of loves the lore from how he talks about putting a lot of events into. He doesn't. He doesn't. Okay. Ryan Condal may be a quote unquote fan of A Song of Ice and Fire, fan. And by fan, when I do this, when people say he's a really big fan, he's somebody that's probably read it once. There is no way you can tell me you have a love of the source material and then write some of the garbage that they hate. I can speak for this more than most people, because most people don't like Fire and Blood. I love Fire and Blood. Fire and Blood, I, back and forth rank it above a normal Song of Ice and Fire series book. Fire and Blood inspired me to do an entire Maester conspiracy series that is still to this day one of the, I think, best projects that I did, because I researched a lot on it, and it was one of my first videos that it wasn't just me doing a prediction thing. It was actually okay, put a lot of research into it, and all of that. And it was still early on in my YouTube career, so again, the audio is not great, but still. Could season 3 feel messy if they do stuff do they do stuff too many events into 8 episodes? I can't read Radical. That's not your bad. That's just mine. I can't read. Yeah, I think so. There's a lot season 3 has to do, and so season 3 might be the opposite of season 2, where season 2 felt like there wasn't enough. Season 3 might feel like there's too much going on. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to predict. It's still years out. We don't know. Some fans think they'll have that in the season 3 finale. If they stretch that out to the season 3 finale, I don't know what they're doing. Who do you think controls the 7 kingdoms? The North, Westerlands, Riverlands, Vale, Dorne, Reach. I mean, none of them truly control the kingdoms. And that also can shift depending on what era you're talking about the 7 kingdoms. So I don't know. Like, if you're going to ask, okay, during the first Blackfire Rebellion, you could say the Dornish, because the Dornish have a lot of influence, right? They have more influence than a lot of the others. So, I don't know. I don't think there is a answer to that question, or definitive answer. Keep up the super chats. We need more dead Starks. Oh God. I might have to change it if it gets Dakota this excited. Yeah, Joseph, like, I don't even think that'd be a bad change if they had Jason Ulf fight, but it'd be interesting. Like, that's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's a change that couldn't have happened in Fire and Blood, obviously. So, I don't know, it'd be decent with the show, but it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, you're sitting here saying, oh yeah, you really love the lore of Fire and Blood. There's no way in shit that happened. Like, there's too many witnesses for that to have actually happened. Now, season 2 is not as bad as season 5. Disagree. I disagree. I disagree. I think Dany's plotline, for the most part, made a lot of sense in season. It was pretty well written. Dany's character assassination in season 5, therefore it's worse than season 8. Disagree. I love Stannis, but Stannis is like, this is the problem, I think, with Stannis in the show, is that it's hard to look at Stannis as the character of the books because he isn't that. Like, we don't have a lot of the depth and complexity of the character that we do in the book. And so when you put that into perspective, a lot of Stannis' decisions do make sense outside of, like, some of, like, the very end. Like, him just, oh yeah, let's just walk at Winterfell and see what happens. Like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But, like, him burning Shireen fits with the character of the show. It doesn't fit with the book character of the show, or the book character, but they never adapted the book character to begin with. I don't know. Like, Andrew, I think you're, like, kind of right. Like, Stannis was never the character that was in the book, right? Like, that's just never the character he was. If you want to talk about the problems with Stannis, that's a Game of Thrones issue, not exactly a season 5 issue. Outside of the last thing. It's actually great to see Greece likes peak football. I love football. Well, NFL football. I don't like college football that much and all that, but I do love football. Also, all I'm saying, back-to-back champ fantasy football. All I'm saying. 2 years running. We're going to make it 3 years. It's going to be harder this year because there's 15 people right now in the league. So, you mess up your picks, you're really fucked. Matthew, I will not be reminding you to do that because I want to beat you into submission, so I will not be reminding you. But, you guys keep going. Oh my.
The Lannisters send their regards.
Well, Jasper, thank you for the super chat. And I appreciate the kind words and your donation. That is crazy that you feel obliged to donate $100 to me. So I appreciate you. But it's my favorite Goblin Got YouTuber. Now, a very important question. Do you think House of the Dragon can be saved? Personally, I don't have much hope. Also, are you I can't speak. Also, are you optimistic about Dunk and Egg? I can help, but I can't help but be pessimistic. I'm still pretty hopeful, like, about Dunk and Egg because I think the show is pretty easy to do. Like, if you take the production we've gotten from House of the Dragon, you apply it to Dunk and Egg, and you look at how much easier to be able to do a script and a coherent product Dunk and Egg should be like way easier than what they're doing with House of the Dragon right now. But on your other question, like, can House of the Dragon be saved? I think it can improve. Like, I think the next season could come out and, be an improvement, like be an 8 out of 10 or, 7 out of 10. Will it ever be a 10 out of 10? I don't think so. I think this season damaged so many of the characters that are like key to the actual story that I don't know if it'll ever be able to like get back to what season 1 did. Like, I almost think that season 1 is now the peak that this show could ever get to, but I won't say that yet because I don't know what they're gonna do. Right? They could come back and season 3 is vastly better written. Maybe they have more time and they don't have issues of cuts and all that stuff. But I don't want to say like there's no chance, but I am pretty pessimistic about House of the Dragon season 3. Ashley, I always spoil you. You're my goat mod. How do I get into this football league? I think the link is ditto. If you're in the Discord for the channel, if you're not, you can always join it. It's in the link in the description, I usually, and also on the main channel. But I think it's still in the general chat. I'll copy and paste another one in there though. Hold on. Where is my pinned messages? Oh, maybe it's not in the Discord. I thought it was in the Discord, but I don't see it pinned. So I will, if you want to go into, if you're in the Discord, I will put it in there at some point, probably. I think Jorah will join the Night's Watch, maybe even become Lord Commander after his father. I feel like it would be a fit. That would be a really cool fit for his character. I think he's going to die, but I think that's a good idea as well. I mean, Helena already basically like spoiled half of the plot to Aemond anyway, so maybe. I just want to say I listen to your videos in the background while I work. Gets my mind off my miserable job. Appreciate it. Well, Gus, I hope job gets better. Appreciate the kind words, and I definitely get it. I worked the same job for 5.5, 6 years. I didn't like it for the most part, and I did get to the point where like I was basically like I would listen to stuff during work, and so those words like I do appreciate that. But I hope that stuff gets better. Hopefully, job, or maybe you move on to another job or whatever you're, at in life. Hopefully, things are only going up from there. I've never seen writers intentionally spoil their own show. Yeah, Ander, this is the one thing about episode 8 and why I think I was so pissed off, like going into the stream, like after episode 8, is it's just like episode 8. I had so many moments where I was just looking at the screen and just like shaking my head in just disgust. Like I had so many moments of that where I was just like, what are we doing? And so that's why when I compare it to season 8, or I'll say like, things about season 8, it's the first time like I've been so invested in a show and just been so let down. Like outside of House of the Dragon, I have not been invested in a show as much as I had with Game of Thrones, like since that point. And so when you have a show that you see all the potential of it in the world, and it just makes stupid decisions, and they're so easy to fix. I think Alicent's is a little harder because I think they over time screwed up her character, whereas Daemon's, it's like literally all you have to do is just change how one scene works, and then you're fine. And then you don't completely botch a character. It's just, oh, it's so frustrating. Like, I had a whole conversation with one of my friends because we talk about this all the time, like in movies or shows, where it's like there's such simple writing things that like, how do multiple people see this and go, wow, that was what we could have done? That's the best we could do. Or like even that's like what we think is good. Not even our best, but like we think that's good. Like, I don't know. If they ruin Dunk and Egg, if they ruin Dunk and Egg, I've lost any semblance of faith that I had left would be gone. That's all I'm saying. Gus, were you the one asking about Winds of Winter coming out before you have grandchildren? So if you're 50, I'm assuming this is the same. If you're 50, I think it comes out before you have grandchildren. I think that's my take. Dude, it's crazy how far back in chat I am. Like, I'm talking about a conversation that I think happened 30 minutes ago. Like, that's how far in chat I am. Dude, I don't know how people with hundreds of viewers keep up with chat. Like, they just have to just not read most of chat and just, like, pick out one thing as it's going. Like, I don't even know. Fire and Blood Part 2 when? If I had to guess, I think when House of the Dragon ends. That's my guess. If we got Fire and Blood Part 2, I would say it comes at the end of when House of the Dragon ends. So that would be what? 2028? That would be my guess. Radical could. I think King's Landing could happen around that time. I think it's definitely possible. Where am I at in chat? Holy cow, dude. I'm just seeing this because as I was scrolling up, Ashley, my favorite Hogwarts Professor McGonagall, and it's not even close. People that say Snape, it's like, okay, yeah, he had like some sort of redemption at the end, but he also bullied kids. So, I mean, he wasn't a great guy. I always found that fascinating. I was always like, well, Harry named kid a little bit after Snape, somebody that bullied kids, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. You and JC were sweet summer children. Yeah, it's so crazy. It's crazy, Matthew. Like, I look back and I look at, and this is why I think season 2 crushed me so much, is I just had such a blind faith. I had such a blind faith that season 2 was going to be good. Because I didn't see how they could mess it up this bad. I think they fucked it up. I don't even know what to say. Coda, sorry for my language once again. I think it's crazy now that when I do streams, whenever I cuss, I instantly think of Dakota. Like, he's in my head. I'm just like, oh, God, he's going to be mad at me. I think we'll see Tumbleton, Radical. I think Tumbleton has to happen. I think Tumbleton will happen at probably the end of the season, Radical. That'd be like my thing that'll happen in season 3. That'll be like kind of that big event. Because it'll kind of push Rhaenyra to start, not trusting everybody, and then that's going to forward a lot of the plot into season. I think Cersei will interact with John Connington. Ooh. You know what? I'm going to say no, because if you subscribe to the theory that she's going to leave to Casterly Rock, I think she doesn't interact with John Con, but if she doesn't get to Casterly Rock, I also think she'll probably die by the time John Con and Youngriff get to her. So I'm going to say no, actually. Alicent Rhaenyra. No more Alicent Rhaenyra scenes until King's Landing falls or something. I swear. I swear. If one of the... Like, I said this in episode 3 of season 2, but if one of those two characters teleports to the other in the next season, I just don't know what... Like, these people went to school for writing and things like that. You have to think about it. Like, you have to assume that. Like, I don't even know. I don't even know. I don't know if you already talked about tonight on stream, but will the Aemond Alice River plot happen? What do you all think? It'll definitely happen, Chin. I think it's going to happen. It's going to be very similar to like Daemon's like interactions with her. I think it'll be kind of similar. I'm sad the Gold Cloaks won't take the city for Daemon. They really gave that to Alicent. Yep. They gave it to Alicent for what? To kill her character. Actually insane. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, Emma Darcy, fantastic actor. But man, some of the stuff they've given the character in season 2 just wasted that talent. That's all I gotta say. Gladiator 2 will be shit. I don't know. I thought it looked good, but I don't know. Probably. Percy Jackson season 1 still rushed things. Yeah, and they made a lot of weird decisions. They made a lot of like weird changes that like, especially in the underworld and the Lotus Hotel, that was just wild to me. I thought Fallout was really entertaining. As somebody that doesn't really play Fallout games, doesn't know the lore of Fallout, that went in completely blind almost because my friends all love Fallout, I found the Fallout show to be very enjoyable. Like I had things here and there that I was like, this doesn't really seem to like add up, but yeah. And then it was somewhere like, okay, maybe my friends would like explain it based on the lore, but I'm like, well, okay, that's cool and all if it's in the lore, but it's not established, so this TV show like doesn't function unless you've watched the lore on certain like, well, it's not big things, it's like smaller things. But that was something I noticed. I was like, it's something you don't want to do. You don't want to do things that like, yeah, the lore explains it, but it doesn't like, it's not explained for a casual viewer of your show. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with smoking crack, but I'm just saying, like, you're gonna be a little impaired. Like, you're not gonna be thinking straight. Yeah, PK. I think the characterization of Annabeth wasn't that great in the season. I thought the big twist and like it just felt like it felt good enough to like keep my interest for a second season to see if they improve, but it wasn't anything crazy. Radical. Okay, so I will be reviewing Rings of Power, and I actually got to rewatch season 1, so I'm like back up to date on all the things that happened. I tried to suppress those memories. If I rate Rings of Power higher than House of the Dragon season 2, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think I'll literally start going insane. I don't even know. Yeah, Kayla, I think that's kind of the general consensus. Is just the season has been kind of underwhelming. I was 18 when watching God. Yeah, I think that's an acceptable age. You're an adult at that point, you know. I feel like it's fine. I feel like the lowest age you should watch Game of Thrones is 16. Like if I had kids, I wouldn't let them watch it till Radical. This is what I think is gonna be so funny because I'm assuming me and Ricky are gonna be doing the same kind of thing we did for House of the Dragon, where we have our streams together. Maybe we'll have JC on as well. I don't know. I don't know how that's all going down. Well, it's too far away right now. But if they mess up Dunkin' Egg, I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see Ricky's reaction. I can't wait. And he's one of those people where like he's the opposite of me, right? So like when he gets us into something really negative, he basically like he'll maybe have like a rant type thing, and then he'll be done with it, right? He'll put it out of his head, and he'll just move on to the next thing. I'm someone that soaks in the negativity. Like I am someone that like I'm like, oh yeah, this is where I thrive now. It gives me focus, all that. I'm a Sith to heart, right? Like season 2, if it would have been good, I would have maybe had like 1 or 2 like maybe videos about the season as a whole. But no, I had like 2 weeks worth of just content, just like talking about the seasons because I'm just like, left a bad taste in my mouth and I got to get it all out. I don't know. Yeah, but I don't blame people that like Dunkin' Egg over Fire and Blood. I exactly why. I don't buy the Maester conspiracy. Well, Hannibal, maybe you should. Correct answer is not Professor Snape, actually. It is not Professor Snape. Okay, Professor Snape is a complex character. That's cool and all. But how is he going to be your favorite professor? You are going to Hogwarts when Snape is the teacher. Okay? You are getting literally bullied. Snape bullies. I don't even know. How old is Harry Potter when he actually goes to Hogwarts? He's like 12 or something like that. He literally bullies 12-year-olds. I reread Harry Potter last year, and I definitely enjoyed it. It was a really good time to just rewatch it. It's funny that the only book I don't have of the entire series is the first one. I didn't read, but I listened to the first book through Audible because I have a bunch of credits saved up. I just have a bunch of ones that I can unlock. But I listened to it when my power went out, and I was just listening to it. It was a really good time just to like listen to the first book. But would you be surprised if HBO gave them 10 episodes of season 3? It's not happening. They're not. Shows do not go from 8 episodes back to 10. It doesn't happen. Hello, Mohammed. How are you? Season 2 of House of Dragon is like season 8. See, I agree in terms of like the feeling I got when watching it, but the overall quality is not season 8. Not that bad. Like as I've cooled on it, I've kind of gone, okay, yeah, there's definitely good stuff in season 2 that makes it at least a 6 out of 10. I don't think you can go lower than a 6 out of 10 based on production, based off of some of the great moments, especially the first half of the season. But I wouldn't go as far as saying as season 8. See, Kayla, I'm also of this opinion. I think season 2 of House of the Dragon is worse than season 5. I agree. Um, College football, NFL. Kenshin, I've heard a lot of people say that. I don't know. I'm just like, to me, I want to see like the best of the best, like NFL or football players. And so I don't know. I just was never a college football fan. Like the closest I was ever a college football fan was during like the peak of like Alabama, like AJ McCarron when he won the championship. Like that was like the peak of when I watched college football. I didn't really watch it that much. Like I'd only like watch like Alabama games or like Mizzou because I'm kind of like that's the most major football team like around where I live, like Mizzou, and they're not even that good most of the time. So, but yeah, Jasper. Again, thank you. I just got to where your super chat when you sent it, so how far behind we are, but thank you. Does the Discord link work? It should. If it doesn't, I'll drop another one in chat. Right people. I want it ever think or anybody who wants to join the Discord. Oh. Ander. I don't care. I don't care about this whole soccer football thing. I don't care, right? You want to call it football? I don't care. I personally don't like football or soccer. I enjoyed playing it when I was younger. I just didn't. I don't like watching it. I think it's very boring, but that's just me. Like people say that about American football as well. So, I did put a new Discord link in there, so hopefully that works for you guys. Let me know if it does. Doesn't though. I hope it all works. But yeah. While we're at. But yeah. I hope that link worked. 3 people joining, so I think it. Which character are you most excited about in Dunk and Egg? I would say probably Maekar and Baelor. Probably would be my 2 most excited for, at least early on anyway, because we're not going to get a lot of Blood Raven stuff. Remember when prophecies were mysterious? Now we get, bitch, you're gonna die here. Yep. That didn't. This is the crazy part. That not only happened once in this season, but twice. Alice Rivers did it, and Helena did it. Like, that's crazy to me. Snape was not the best professor, Ashley. What are you talking about? What are we talking about? I don't even know what we're talking about. Alan Rickman, fantastic actor, right? Fantastic actor. But, like, no. It's Professor McGonagall. Like, what are we talking about? I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. Okay. Hear me out. So I'm going to be honest. I can't keep up with chat. So I'm going to have to skip a little bit of chat work because I want to get back to where we actually are in chat right now. But What is the best Harry Potter book, Harry Potter movie? Because those answers are different. Those are not the same answer. Like, it could be. It could be. If you say your favorite book is Prisoner of Azkaban and your favorite movie is Prisoner of Azkaban, that's an acceptable take. But if you say your favorite movie is Goblet of Fire, then you're just wrong. Unfortunately, you're just wrong. If you say Order of the Phoenix is your favorite book, you're just wrong. Unfortunately, you're just wrong. It's so weird, though. It's so weird because it's like Order of the Phoenix, in my opinion, is probably either the worst or the second worst book in Harry Potter. And yet it has, in my opinion, it's one of, if not the best movie of Harry Potter. It's crazy to me. It's actually crazy. Okay, here we go. Best book is Chamber of... Oh, that's a hot take. Best movie, Prisoner. Okay, I can get behind that. Book... I like that. That's a good take, Chrissy. I think that's a really good take. That's kind of where I am. I think my favorite book is Azkaban. I think I have a tie, though. I think if you say your favorite is Azkaban, Goblet of Fire, or Half-Blood Prince, I think those are all good books. Movies, I think it's like... Movies, I'd say it's Order of the Phoenix or Prisoner of Azkaban, probably. I do agree, though. Like, Sorcerer's Stone is a super good movie to go back to. It is a Christmas movie, by the way. I would say the first two Harry Potter movies are Christmas movies. They just got that nice, like, comfy feeling, you know? Especially the first one. Like, they just, like, you know, when there's, like, winter going on in Harry Potter and it makes you feel like a kid and it's, like, just feel good. It's you know, there's some weird crap going on, you know, but, like, it's just feels good. Feels good. Gabba's best book. I like that. I think that's a good one. Worst Harry Potter movie was Order of the... Whoa, that's a hot take. That is a hot take. I think Order of the Phoenix is probably the best. It's the best adapted book, in my opinion, because it does so much. Like, Order of the Phoenix has so much fluff in the book, and it trims all that down, keeps all the interesting parts, and also keeps the actual themes of that book. I don't know. Order of the Phoenix, very good to me. Hot take, but Harry should have ended up with Hermione even in the books. I don't think so. Maybe in the movies I could see it, but I don't know. I really liked when Snape died. Oh my god, dude. Dakota is trying to piss Ashley off. I find it so funny. I do love the monster. I love the monster in the Chamber of Secrets. The basilisk. I kind of lost the name for a second, but such a cool monster. I do love, like, the way that book is kind of like you slowly get the Voldemort origin story, and it's like cut throughout each like third of the book, or maybe quarter, I guess I would go with. Harry Potter hot take streams. There's been a lot of like hot takes. Harry deserved better than Hermione, and so did Ron. She should have died as a cat lady. Oh my. Hyped for the show because I'm hoping the show gets as dark as the books did. The movies didn't get as dark. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. Like, when you get to like Half-Blood Prince and you get to the later books, like when the war really starts, like, it's pretty dark. Like, it's pretty dark. Like, people are getting murdered. I mean, it's dark. Dude, some of the old Harry Potter games, they are memeable as hell. I didn't play any of them really that I remember, but yeah. All right, well, guys, I'm going to end the live stream. I hope you guys all enjoyed. I'm just getting, like, my throat is getting very dry and stuff, so this is kind of why I kind of skipped chat a little bit, because I just couldn't catch up. But I hope you guys all enjoyed. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Also, thank you for all the super chats, all the support from you guys. You guys are awesome as always. And I hope you guys all like the videos this week. It'll be kind of the last House of the Dragon week for now, and we'll get back to the